Men are moved by two levers only: fear and self-interest. Napoleon Bonaparte. Most people think life is random. Things just happen. Good luck or bad luck. That's what they believe. They are wrong. Powerful people don't believe in luck. They believe in control. They build it. They grab it. They keep it. This control isn't magic. It's a game, a cold game. And they know the rules. We will learn those rules together. Think about someone you know, someone who always seems to get their way. They might not be the smartest. They might not be the strongest, but things break their way again and again. Is that luck? No. They understand how to move people. They understand what people want. They give it. But only when it helps them. They make deals. They pull strings. They use what they have. Normal people react. They wait to see what happens. Then they try to deal with it. This is weakness. Powerful people plan. They see what could happen. They get ready for it. They even make it happen. They don't wait for the storm. They build the storm, and they guide it where they want it to go. This is strength. This is control. Most will tell you to be nice. Be fair. Play by the rules. This is how you lose. The world isn't fair. People aren't nice. The rules are made to be broken or bent or used against you. You need to see this. You need to understand this. Only then can you protect yourself. Only then can you win. Control starts with knowing yourself, your wants, your fears, your weaknesses. If you don't know yourself, others will, and they will use it against you. Look inside, be honest. It's not easy, but it's the first step. Then learn others. What do they want? What are they scared of? What makes them happy? What makes them angry? Watch them. Listen to them. People tell you everything if you know how to listen. Once you know them, you can move them like pieces on a board. Don't show your hand. Keep your plans hidden. Let others think they know you. Let them think they understand you. This is their mistake. Surprise is a weapon. Use it. Let them underestimate you. Then strike. Use people's feelings, hope, fear, greed. These are powerful tools. Learn to use them. Make people want what you want them to want. Make them fear what you want them to fear. This is influence. This is power. Never be afraid to cut someone loose. If they are no longer useful, get rid of them. Feelings have no place in this game. Every person is a tool. Use them or lose them. This is how you survive. Control is not about being loud. It's not about being strong. It's about being smart. It's about being patient. It's about being ready. The world is a battlefield. Learn to fight. Learn to win. Learn to control. To control by calculated design. Understand the mechanics of the human mind as if it were a complex engine. Every thought, every emotion, every desire is a lever, a gear, a pulley, each connected to the other in a web of cause and effect. Learn to identify these connection points. Understand that manipulating one element can create a cascade of predictable results. People believe they are in control of their choices, but this is often an illusion. Their decisions are frequently determined by subconscious biases, emotional vulnerabilities, and carefully constructed narratives. Your task is to become the architect of those narratives, to subtly shape their perceptions and guide their actions without them realizing they are being led. Consider the concept of cognitive dissonance. People strive for internal consistency. When their beliefs and actions clash, they experience discomfort. This discomfort motivates them to resolve the inconsistency, often by changing their beliefs to align with their actions. This is a powerful tool. If you can induce someone to act in a way that contradicts their values, they will likely adjust their values to justify their behavior. This creates a vulnerability, a point of leverage. Use it. Push them to take small steps, each one seemingly insignificant. Over time, these small steps will lead them down a path that serves your purpose, even if it deviates from their initial intentions. The power of suggestion cannot be overstated. The human mind is highly susceptible to priming. Expose someone to certain stimuli, and you can subtly influence their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Plant a seed of an idea and watch it grow. Don't be direct. Subtlety is key. Use carefully chosen words, images, and associations to create the desired effect. A well-placed rumor, a suggestive gesture, a carefully curated environment can all contribute to the desired outcome. The more subtle the suggestion, the more powerful it becomes. People resist overt attempts at manipulation, but they are often unaware of the subtle influences that shape their perceptions. Appeal to their ego. Everyone has a need to feel important, valued, and respected. Flattery, when used judiciously, can be a potent weapon. Identify their insecurities and offer them validation. Make them feel like they are the smartest person in the room. This will lower their defenses and make them more receptive to your suggestions. However, be careful not to overdo it. Excessive flattery can be seen as insincere and arouse suspicion. The key is to strike a balance. To provide enough praise to boost their ego without appearing to be manipulative. Understanding the specific vulnerabilities of the person in question is vital to applying this technique successfully. Knowing where the cracks in their armor lie will allow you to target your compliments with laser-like precision. Exploit their fear of loss. People are often more motivated by the fear of losing something than by the prospect of gaining something of equal value. Frame your proposals in terms of what they stand to lose if they don't comply. This creates a sense of urgency and compels them to act. Emphasize the potential negative consequences of inaction. Highlight the risks involved. Make them believe that their current situation is precarious and that the only way to avoid disaster is to follow your lead. This is a powerful form of coercion, but it must be used with caution. Excessive fear can be paralyzing. The goal is to create enough anxiety to motivate action without causing them to shut down completely. Master the art of deception. Lies are a necessary tool in the pursuit of control. Learn to lie convincingly. Practice your poker face. Control your body language. The best lies are those that are closest to the truth. Weave a web of half-truths and omissions to create a false narrative that serves your purpose. Be prepared to defend your lies with plausible explanations and supporting evidence. The more elaborate the lie, the more difficult it is to detect. However, remember that lies have consequences. They can damage your reputation and undermine your credibility. Use them sparingly and only when absolutely necessary. The ability to deceive is a valuable asset, but it must be wielded with skill and discretion. Always maintain a position of power. Control is about maintaining a power imbalance. You must always be in a position of strength, whether it's financial, social, or intellectual. Cultivate your resources, build your network, acquire knowledge. The more powerful you are, the more influence you will have over others. However, be careful not to become complacent. Power can be fleeting. It must be constantly defended and maintained. Always be vigilant. Always be prepared to defend your position. Never underestimate your rivals. The moment you become complacent is the moment you become vulnerable. Learn to read people. Pay attention to their body language, their tone of voice, their facial expressions. These are all clues that can reveal their true thoughts and feelings. Develop your intuition. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. The ability to accurately assess people is crucial to successful manipulation. You need to be able to identify their vulnerabilities, their motivations, and their weaknesses. The more you know about them, the better equipped you will be to control them. Practice active listening. Pay attention not only to what people say, but also to what they don't say. The silences can be just as revealing as the words. Cultivate a reputation for being trustworthy. People are more likely to trust those who are perceived as being honest and reliable. Even if you are deceptive in your methods, it is important to project an image of integrity. Be consistent in your words and actions. Keep your promises. Be fair in your dealings. A reputation for trustworthiness can be a powerful shield, allowing you to operate with greater freedom and impunity. People will be less likely to suspect you of manipulation if they believe you are acting in their best interests. This is a long-term strategy, but it can yield significant rewards. Understand that control is not about domination, it's about influence. It's about subtly shaping the environment to achieve your desired outcome. It's about making others believe that they are acting of their own free will, when in reality they are following a path that you have carefully laid out for them. It's about being the puppeteer, not the tyrant. True control is invisible. It's the ability to manipulate events from behind the scenes without ever revealing your hand. This requires patience, cunning, and a deep understanding of human psychology. Consider the case of a high-powered executive, let's call him Mr. Sterling, who successfully orchestrated a corporate takeover through calculated manipulation. He identified a smaller company, Novatech, ripe for acquisition. Publicly, Mr. Sterling expressed admiration for Novatech's innovative technology and potential, suggesting a partnership that would benefit both entities. This was the carefully constructed facade. Behind the scenes, he initiated a multi-pronged strategy designed to weaken Novatech and force its leadership into a vulnerable position. He began by discreetly poaching key personnel from Novatech, offering them significantly higher salaries and more prestigious positions within his own company. This created internal instability and demoralization within Novatech, disrupting their projects and creating a sense of unease among the remaining employees. Simultaneously, Mr. Sterling subtly influenced market analysts to publish negative reports about Novatech's financial prospects. He leaked carefully crafted information to friendly journalists, painting a picture of mismanagement and declining profitability. These reports, while not entirely inaccurate, were selectively amplified to create a sense of impending doom around Novatech. As Novatech's stock price began to fall, Mr. Sterling initiated a series of calculated short-selling maneuvers, further driving down its value. This created a self-fulfilling prophecy as investors panicked and sold off their shares. Internally, Mr. Sterling fostered dissent among Novatech's board members. He identified individuals who were ambitious or dissatisfied with the current leadership and subtly cultivated their resentment. He provided them with information both true and misleading that undermined the credibility of Novatech's CEO. He played on their personal insecurities and professional aspirations, subtly encouraging them to question the direction of the company. These actions created a power struggle within Novatech, further weakening its position. While all of this was happening, Mr. Sterling maintained a public image of support and concern for Novatech. He offered friendly advice to the CEO, suggesting strategies that he knew would ultimately be ineffective. He expressed sympathy for the challenges they were facing, while simultaneously exacerbating those challenges through his covert actions. He positioned himself as a potential savior, ready to step in and offer assistance when Novatech was at its weakest. When Novatech's stock price reached its lowest point and internal chaos had reached a fever pitch, Mr. Sterling made his move. He offered a takeover bid, significantly below Novatech's actual value, but presented it as the only viable option to prevent complete collapse. The Novatech board, weakened by internal strife and facing mounting financial pressure, reluctantly accepted the offer. Mr. Sterling had successfully acquired Novatech, not through superior business acumen or innovative strategy, but through a calculated campaign of manipulation and control. He had identified vulnerabilities, exploited weaknesses, and orchestrated events from behind the scenes, all while maintaining a facade of benevolence and concern. The acquisition was presented to the public as a mutually beneficial transaction, but in reality, it was the result of a carefully designed power play. The fall of Novatech serves as a stark illustration of how calculated manipulation can lead to the downfall of even seemingly strong entities. The key element in Sterling's success was his understanding of human psychology and his ability to exploit the predictable flaws in human behavior. He knew that people are often driven by ego, fear, and a desire for self-preservation. He used these vulnerabilities against the Novatech leadership, creating a web of deceit that ultimately led to their demise. The trap, in its essence, is about creating a situation where the victim believes they are acting in their own best interest, while unknowingly playing directly into the manipulator's hands. This involves a careful calibration of influence, subtly nudging the target towards a predetermined outcome, all while maintaining plausible deniability. The weak fail because they underestimate the lengths to which others will go to achieve their goals. They operate under the assumption that everyone is playing by the same rules, a naive belief that blinds them to the manipulative tactics employed by those seeking power. They trust too easily, failing to recognize the subtle signs of manipulation, the carefully crafted words designed to instill doubt and insecurity. They also tend to focus on immediate problems, neglecting the bigger picture and the long-term consequences of their actions. The trap is not sprung overnight. It is a gradual process, a series of carefully orchestrated events designed to erode the target's defenses and weaken their resolve. Each small concession, each seemingly insignificant compromise, contributes to the overall erosion of power. The manipulator understands the power of incremental change, knowing that people are more likely to accept a series of small steps that lead to a significant outcome than a single, large demand. This is why the trap often begins with seemingly harmless requests or suggestions, gradually escalating over time until the target is completely ensnared. The victims often fail to see the pattern, mistaking each individual event as an isolated incident rather than recognizing it as part of a larger, more sinister design. Ego plays a significant role in the failure of the weak. They often overestimate their own abilities and underestimate the cunning of their opponents. They believe they are too smart to be manipulated, a hubris that makes them even more vulnerable. They are easily flattered and eager to accept praise even when it is insincere. The manipulator uses this to their advantage, feeding their ego with compliments and assurances, while subtly undermining their confidence and judgment. They are also often unwilling to admit their mistakes, clinging to their initial decisions even when they are clearly wrong. This stubbornness prevents them from adapting to changing circumstances and makes them easy targets for manipulation. Their need to be right overrides their ability to be effective, ultimately leading to their downfall. Fear is another powerful weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. The weak are often paralyzed by fear of failure, fear of criticism, and fear of losing their position. The manipulator exploits these fears, creating a climate of anxiety and uncertainty that makes it difficult for the target to think clearly and make rational decisions. They may spread rumors, leak damaging information, or threaten the target's reputation, all in an effort to create a sense of vulnerability and dependence. The target, consumed by fear, becomes increasingly risk-averse and willing to make concessions to avoid conflict. This allows the manipulator to gradually tighten their grip, isolating the target from their allies and eroding their power base. The desire for self-preservation is a fundamental human instinct, and the manipulator understands how to exploit this instinct for their own gain. The weak are often willing to sacrifice their principles and values in order to protect themselves and their interests. The manipulator creates situations where the target is forced to choose between their own self-interest and the greater good. Invariably, the weak choose self-preservation, justifying their actions with rationalizations and excuses. This compromises their integrity and makes them even more vulnerable to manipulation. They become willing to participate in unethical or even illegal activities, all in an effort to protect themselves from harm. This ultimately destroys their credibility and makes them easy targets for those who seek to exploit them. The environment in which these manipulations occur is often carefully cultivated by the manipulator. They create a climate of competition and distrust, pitting individuals against each other in order to weaken their collective power. They may spread rumors, sow discord, or create factions within the organization, all in an effort to divide and conquer. The weak, caught in this web of intrigue, become increasingly suspicious of each other, making it difficult for them to form alliances and resist the manipulator's influence. The manipulator thrives in chaos and confusion, knowing that it is easier to control people when they are divided and uncertain. Furthermore, the manipulator often utilizes information asymmetry to their advantage. They carefully control the flow of information, withholding critical data from the target or disseminating false or misleading information. This creates a situation where the target is forced to make decisions based on incomplete or inaccurate information, increasing the likelihood of making mistakes. The manipulator, on the other hand, has access to all the relevant information and can use it to their advantage, anticipating the target's moves and manipulating them accordingly. This information advantage is a powerful tool that allows the manipulator to maintain control and orchestrate events from behind the scenes. In the case of Novatek, Mr. Sterling masterfully exploited these vulnerabilities, creating a perfect storm of internal strife, financial pressure, and psychological manipulation. He understood that the key to his success was not brute force, but rather subtle influence and calculated deception. He carefully crafted his image as a benevolent advisor, while simultaneously undermining Novatek's leadership and weakening its position. He played on their egos, their fears, and their desire for self-preservation, leading them down a path of self-destruction. The acquisition of Novatek was not a stroke of genius, but rather the inevitable outcome of a carefully designed and flawlessly executed plan. The weak, blinded by their own flaws and vulnerabilities, walked willingly into the trap, ultimately sealing their own fate. The Machiavellian approach to control hinges on a deep understanding of human nature, particularly its vulnerabilities. It recognizes that people are driven by a complex interplay of emotions, desires, and insecurities, and that these can be exploited to achieve specific objectives. A skilled manipulator does not attempt to force their will upon others, but rather subtly guides them towards a predetermined outcome. This requires a delicate balance of persuasion, deception, and psychological manipulation. It is a game of chess where the manipulator carefully plans each move, anticipating the opponent's reactions and adjusting their strategy accordingly. The goal is not to win through brute force, but rather to create a situation where the target willingly complies with the manipulator's wishes, believing they are acting in their own best interest. This is achieved by carefully crafting a narrative that appeals to the target's emotions and desires, while simultaneously masking the manipulator's true intentions. Central to the Machiavellian strategy is the art of deception. Manipulators are masters of disguise, capable of presenting themselves in whatever manner best suits their needs. They may feign empathy, offer false promises, or even resort to outright lies to gain the target's trust and confidence. This deception is not simply a matter of telling falsehoods, but rather of creating a carefully constructed illusion that obscures the manipulator's true motives. They understand that people are more likely to be persuaded by someone they perceive as trustworthy and sincere, and they will go to great lengths to cultivate this image. They are adept at reading people's body language and adjusting their behavior accordingly, mirroring their expressions and adopting their mannerisms to create a sense of rapport. This allows them to gain access to the target's inner circle and influence their decisions from within. Furthermore, Machiavellian control involves the strategic use of influence. This goes beyond simple persuasion and involves subtly shaping the target's perceptions and beliefs. Manipulators often employ techniques such as gaslighting, where they deliberately distort the target's reality, making them question their own sanity and judgment. They may also use emotional blackmail, playing on the target's guilt or fear to coerce them into compliance. The goal is to erode the target's self-confidence and independence, making them increasingly reliant on the manipulator's guidance. This creates a power imbalance that allows the manipulator to exert greater control over the target's actions. They are masters of psychological warfare, using subtle tactics to undermine the target's morale and break their will. A critical aspect of the Machiavellian approach is patience. Manipulators understand that true control is not achieved overnight, but rather through a gradual and persistent process. They are willing to invest the time and effort necessary to build a relationship with the target, gain their trust, and gradually erode their defenses. This requires a high degree of self-control and discipline, as well as the ability to delay gratification. They are not impulsive or reckless, but rather methodical and calculating in their approach. They understand that premature action can expose their true intentions and jeopardize their plan. Therefore, they are willing to wait for the opportune moment to strike, when the target is most vulnerable and least likely to resist. The Machiavellian strategy also emphasizes the importance of adaptability. Manipulators are not rigid in their approach, but rather flexible and responsive to changing circumstances. They are constantly monitoring the target's behavior and adjusting their strategy accordingly. If one tactic fails, they are quick to try another, always seeking to exploit the target's weaknesses and vulnerabilities. This requires a high degree of awareness and the ability to think on their feet. They are masters of improvisation, capable of adapting their plans to unexpected events and turning setbacks into opportunities. They are like chameleons, blending seamlessly into their surroundings and adapting their appearance to suit the environment. Moreover, the Machiavellian controller isolates their target by creating distance between the target and their support network. Be it family, friends, or colleagues, the controller gains more direct influence. This isolation can be achieved through various means, such as spreading rumors, fostering mistrust, or simply monopolizing the target's time and attention. With fewer external voices to offer alternative perspectives or challenge the manipulator's narrative, the target becomes increasingly dependent on the controller for guidance and validation. This dependence further solidifies the controller's power and makes it more difficult for the target to break free from their influence. The manipulated person, cut off from their usual sources of support, begins to doubt their own judgment and rely almost exclusively on the manipulator's version of reality. Finally, a Machiavellian individual understands the value of leverage. They seek to create situations where the target is dependent on them for something they value, whether it be money, power, status, or even emotional support. This dependency gives the manipulator a significant advantage, allowing them to exert pressure and control the target's behavior. They may offer conditional rewards, promising benefits in exchange for compliance, or threaten to withhold resources if the target does not cooperate. The goal is to create a situation where the target feels they have no choice but to comply with the manipulator's wishes, even if it goes against their own interests. This leverage is often subtle, a constant undercurrent in the relationship, reminding the target of their dependence and discouraging them from challenging the manipulator's authority. The manipulator cultivates this imbalance, ensuring that they always hold the upper hand. The architecture of control, built brick by brick through carefully orchestrated maneuvers, ultimately converges upon a single unwavering objective: the subjugation of another's will. This isn't mere persuasion or influence, it is the systematic dismantling of independent thought and the replacement with a manufactured reality tailored to the controller's desires. Each tactic, from the subtle erosion of self-esteem to the blatant manipulation of emotions, serves as a thread in the tapestry of dominance, slowly tightening its grip upon the unsuspecting individual. This web, spun with patience and precision, becomes a prison of the mind, where the target is trapped within a landscape of the controller's design. Consider the long game. The Machiavellian mind does not seek fleeting victories or immediate gratification. It understands that true power lies in the long-term control of resources, relationships, and information. Each calculated action is an investment in the future, a seed planted with the expectation of a bountiful harvest of influence. This strategic foresight allows the manipulator to anticipate potential challenges and proactively shape events to their advantage, ensuring their continued dominance over their target. This game, played out over months or even years, requires an unwavering commitment to the pursuit of power, a willingness to sacrifice short-term gains for the ultimate prize of complete control. Observe the subtle art of gaslighting. By systematically distorting the target's perception of reality, the manipulator undermines their confidence and ability to trust their own judgment. This insidious tactic involves denying past events, questioning the target's memory, and twisting their words to suit the manipulator's narrative. The constant barrage of conflicting information leaves the target feeling confused, disoriented, and increasingly reliant on the manipulator for guidance. This erosion of self-trust creates a fertile ground for manipulation, as the target becomes more susceptible to the controller's suggestions